Why isn't it on Facebook? I don't care. Oof. Alrighty. I was gonna do something here, but
like what?
alright. Good evening. We're here. I just want to make sure it's all shindigged up and everything else. Thank you y'all for coming out here tonight. Tuning in as these fixed cup drivers head to the fake iRacing Super Speedway. A lot of you guys know it as the Coca-Cola track. Whatever it may be. I know it as ISS, so that is that. But we got a little race information here.
It's the International Space Station.
iRacing Super Speedway. It is a 2.95 mile track. The current track temperature is 125 at the moment. It is 85 degrees. There's a 19% humidity, clear skies, 4-mile-per-hour wind. They get 75% fuel, 50 laps, 150 miles, 4 sets of tires, and 0 quick fixes. And they get 3 GWCs. Anywho, as I heard, it takes like almost a minute to get around the track, so.
It may be shaped like Martinsville on the track map, Brian, but it is fairly wide, as we all know.
I got it pulled up this time.
Got what pulled up?
Track map.
Ah, there we go. I was just looking at the race day information track map, but yes, indeed, like we talked about, it may look pretty narrow on the track map, or pretty much like Martinsville 2.0, but it is fairly wide. How wide do you think you could go here, Brian? About 6-7 wide?
I would say so down the backstretch. There's multiple grooves in a turn, but it does get sketchy being on the outside lane.
It does most definitely. What is this, like 38, 42 degrees of banking, something to that effect? Once I'm not eating, I will Google it for sure. Like Brian said, most of everybody that has been with iRacing or that knows about iRacing since its inception knows that it's basically the grandchild or the child of NR 2003 developers, coders, and etc. Got their hands on the coding and files of NR 2003 and basically used that as the predecessor of are the brainchild to iRacing, right, Brian? So one of the tracks that just so happened to be in NR 2003 was iRacing Super Speedway. This is that track. It was called Coca-Cola Super Speedway, and had a lot of heavy promotion work done to it to promote the track being in the game and etc. So they basically just remastered the track, reimagined it as well, and rebranded the track to iRacing Super Speedway. So one end of the track, 3 and 4, I feel like is a bit slightly different than 1 and 2. 1 and 2 I feel like might be a bit narrower, but not by much. It's a very symmetrical track. Unrestricted engines for the most part here, so they should be carrying the most speed as possible. We'll get some telemetry and some onboards throughout the race.
Yes, sir.
Fuel mileage tonight.
Oh, Phillips on top.
Oh boy. By 3/1,000ths of a second to Pete Woodrum in the number 2 car, setting provisional P2 at the moment.
Anyway, here's the starting grid real quick. P1 would be Philip Richmond, P2 would be Pete Woodrum, P3 would be Randy Bousquet, P4 would be Jaden Sanchez, P5 would be Jason Pearson, P6 would be AB, P7 would be James Hudson, P8 would be Clint Hayfield, P9 would be Chris Campbell, P10 would be Tyler Myers, P11 would be Chris Cornett, P12 would be Matthew Huntsaker, P13 would be Brian Schwartz, P14 would be Joe Stipe, P15 would be Justin Steves, P16 will be Gary. Yes, the weird gridden.
So 50 laps here tonight. That's 150 miles there or thereabouts that these drivers will have to compete here this evening. Kind of threw this threw this track in on the schedule, Brian, as like a wild card type of event. Whenever we made the schedule, I wanted to really throw some curves into the driver's lap, and I believe this is one of those curves that these drivers are having to navigate here this evening, Brian.
That's always good to throw all those curves in there. But
we should be looking at a one-stop race tonight. Maybe a second stop for a splash, depending on who can actually get to that 25-lap mark. So fuel mileage, 22 to 25 laps tonight.
see there, going up on that bank in there.
Yeah, the only thing flat about iRacing Super Speedway is the apron and pit road. Everything else on this track has quite a bit of banking to it. Fairly steep track.
That it is.
This almost looks like a Roger Penske or Bill France's. I guess we can't say that on air, but everybody probably knows what I was going for. But just a very vivid dream of what they would love to have one day, as far as a racing facility goes. But I don't know of any landowners that would be willing to give up this much land to have a facility like this.
It's pretty big, that's for sure. As you see here from the camera, look how steep that turn is. Anyway, as the pace car is off and the green flag is out.
So green flag is out this evening here at iRacing Super Speedway. Everybody going to build up speed into turns 1 and 2 here for the first time of asking. Oh, and already trouble is afoot.
And there goes that.
That looks at least to be half the field this evening. Already chaos in turns 1 and 2. Not even getting completely into the corner. Did Jaden just cut down across the nose of Bridgman, or what happened here? He's giving a real good push to Pete. Looks like Pete's going to make the transition down, and Jaden just kind of swipes across the rear bumper and into the fender, really, Bridgman. And Jaden's going to come back up after he gets hit and collect Bridgman. No fast repairs here, so man oh man, this really is going to be very difficult and hurting a lot of these competitors here.
Yes, it is.
You know, Jason Pearson predicted that probably only 2 cars will finish this race, so I guess we could always blame him or me for that. We'll blame one of the two, as we blame Justin for all the cautions in the trucks. I'm just kidding. There wasn't too many. Only 7. He predicted 7. We had 7. How about that? You know, but Justin was here, but I think he had to go. There was something. He was going to race, and then he wasn't. So him and Maydew did not fully grid, or did not grid, one of the two.
I think Randy got a broke tire there. You see him going down the pits.
Yeah, that was Randy. Didn't even get into turn 1 good, and wham, blam, thank you for coming, is what transpired there in turns 1 and 2. Jaden was like, well, Brandon didn't show up tonight, so maybe I can extend that points lead, but that's not how you do it.
No, it ain't. That is absolutely not how you do it. As we saw there, he was getting ready to arc down, and he came across Philip's nose. That about took out Philip too as well, but I don't think anybody did hit Philip.
He did get hit.
6 drivers did not get collected in it.
Yeah, only 6 out of the 14 that started, so you do the math, and that's how many cars. Well, except for Tyler Myers. I don't know if Myers got collected in it or not. I think he started from the pits or had a penalty, or I don't know, Brian. I think he might have started from the pits.
Yeah, I think he did. So there's 9 that are safe. So Sanchez, Busquet, Havel, and Hunsel. That was a wicked old pile-up going into 1. Nice to see you out there, Austin, tuning in. Well, we've seen the 22 do some trickery on the start there, so
this is most definitely going to get everybody to get this race in on 1 stop of fuel if we do go green at any point, instead of just having a spiel of cautions, which, to be fair, I think this might be 1 and done, hopefully, because of how wide the track is and everything, even though, like you say, Brian, they will get close. This track was designed for high-speed pack racing. So that's what we're hoping to see here this evening, but just all depends on if we can get it.
yeah, which is what I'm hoping for. But I kind of seen that coming going into one. So, in real life, these cars would be sliding down the track.
Almost can't believe, a few more people didn't show up for it, since it was, a drafting track, pack racing, and all that other good jive. I'm a bit surprised.
And the green flag is out.
Bradford with a really good restart that time.
If anyone fairy farts, it's Myers. Yeah, I can see that. A good come down by Bradford there to skid in between the 13 and that 68 of Christopher Campbell. See if I can pull up some oof.
Woodrum there, got to be careful not to give up the bottom, because people will try to take it from you. If you give a driver a window of opportunity, they will take the door. Looking at the onboard telemetry now. I bet you a COT race would be fun to race here. I like the Gen 4 cars. Nice. They almost seem to be still restricted, though.
Yeah.
I probably could be wrong. It almost just seems like a Talladega package. Like a Daytona Talladega.
Yes, Austin, the 2 is lucky he didn't get turned there off the 13 when he came down and tried to finesse that block a little bit.
See the pole sitter Philip Bridgman taking his 48 back to the front. He's got help from Pete Woodrum. Good pushes, but Jason Pearson getting help from Chris Cornett on the bottom. They're trying to make some hay on the front too. Not going to be able to get there though before the entry for the turn. Navigating the back straightaway again, coming out of turn number 2.
Boy, that turn going into the turn, boy, it upsets that car big time.
Three wide for a moment. They split Phillip on either end, taking the lead away. Chris Cornett in the lead temporarily with a little help of Hudson on the outside. On the inside, you have, who is that? That's Pete Woodrum.
Yeah.
Yes, it is Pete, JP, and Tyler Myers on that bottom lane. You got Aaron Bradford and Christopher Campbell just a few car lengths behind them, just keeping in tow. So that's the top 8. The top 8's all under a blanket, and then Brian Swartz is 8.5 seconds, falling ever so quickly away. Jaden Sanchez is one and only car, one lap down. We have 2 others out of the race, Hayfield and Matthew Hunsaker from the lap 1 incident, and Joe Stite just got back out on track. He's currently 2 laps down. Randy Busquet still repairing that car. So that is the rundown as it stands. As the battle rages on up here at the front between the front 8.
Like I said, there was a lot of room on this track. Oh! That was close, but he saved it. Phillip did get a little loosey-goosey there. Coming off that turn.
I can almost imagine Brian maybe still a little bit lingering damage to the 48 car. He did get hit in the right rear as he was backwards facing the oncoming traffic. So what could he still have, damage to that car to make that car kick out like that? Or did he just navigate the bump coming out of turn number 4? Oh man, Christopher Campbell, his car bottomed out super bad. Trying to navigate by Tyler Myers. This is going to split this front pack up a little bit.
Yes, it is. That's going to hurt, for sure. But it was a good save by both of them. That could have been ugly, for sure. As Austin said, Tyler would be the next one to ferry fart, and that's what happened. Caution is out.
Randy trying to bring his car back up to speed. Looks like there's something still amiss or awry on the car, and spins out trying to get it up to speed. Pulled a Michael Walsh up there. Hope everything's okay with Randy.
Hopefully. Yes, Austin, you called it. But that caution did save Myers and Campbell.
And it also puts Jaden Sanchez back on the lead lap, Brian.
That it does. The problem is, he's so hurt. So.
Excuse me for eating. Haven't ate nothing all day, so I'm just finishing up my meal.
No, you're good. Yes, 3 miles take ever so long. But who pits? Who don't? We shall see. Aha! See, the leader leads everybody down the pits.
Everybody but Tyler Myers. I believe that's or is that Joe?
No, that's Joe.
Oh, okay. They both having silver cars. Kind of throwing me off this evening.
Oh, he just took fuel. Yep, Mr. Blinky. Is there anybody you want to finesse with talking to, or would you prefer not to?
Oh, we don't have to right now. I could imagine, just coming in, taking fuel only would be one of the ways to go here at iRacing Super Speedway, because it's probably very similar surface like Daytona, Talladega, New Atlanta, probably, to where it's not going to grate away at the tires. Handling probably will come into effect a little bit, but not as bad. It'll be really great if you have fresh tires, yes, but it's not going to be detrimental if you just come in and top off.
Yep. Now, when the officials, I actually get risky and run all the way up by the wall, just to see what it's like. It's got some speed, but then you end up doing what Phillip ends up doing. After coming off the turn, you start to slip the rear. So the last time we were here, Austin was leading. He got hooked and ended up flipping on the last lap. So you got Cornette, Bradford, Campbell, Phillip, Hudson, Woodrum, Tyler, Brian, Pearson. And then whoever that was, I think Jaden's still in the pits. Yeah, he is. But you better hurry up. It's in a 3-mile track. You got a long ways to go.
Yeah, you'll be playing the catch-up game all day if you slip up and kind of keep waiting around like you're trying to repair all that damage, but you'll still be off the pace a little bit.
But Jaden ended up going back a lap down after getting it back. And the green flag's out.
Green flag back out in the air. So restart here at lap 16, or coming to 16, taking 16, 15 laps under the belt here this evening. 2 cautions. Almost want to say 1 caution. Don't want to count what happened on the first lap, but we have to, so.
You see Aaron Bradford gets that push from Phillip, which gets him the good push on the bottom there. So it'll be Bradford, Cornette, Campbell,
At the moment, it looks like the bottom lane is the lane to be in. It's the lane you want to go places, because that just seems to be where everybody's just migrating or just wanting to run.
Yep.
But like we talked about, documented, this track is plenty wide, at least 6, 8 lanes wide.
You can send that
If
car
you have,
anywhere.
yes, indeed. If you have problems racing here, then I don't know what to say for you, Brian.
Yep. I don't know either, buddy.
This should be the easiest track besides Talladega to probably race at. But you still have to hold the car in the corners, right? You can't really let it float up too high or all the way up the track. You know, you got to maintain that speed. As Chris Cornett really looking for a way by Bradford.
And gets caught in the sucker hole there.
Yes, indeed. Myers and Pearson going to go high and split him.
You see there, Bradford, Campbell, Myers. Now it's Hudson. Schwartz now gets his nose up there and isn't being a stranger to any of these guys. I'm trying to find... But the turn's so steep, it's hard to get a good camera view.
At the moment, that outside lane's really prevailing with the three-car line of Myers, Pearson, and Cornett. Down at the bottom, they just seem to be jockeying a bit too much for the lane's liking. As Cornett's now going to go downstairs. He had a good run, a whole lot of momentum coming, and he went down and aborted from being in that high lane. He wanted to venture down in that bottom, but now Bradford's going to go up. As everybody now jockeying around, still for position. Oh yes, Google is our friend. That's what I was going to do now that I got done eating.
You see Tyler Myers leading this pack here. On the outside lane. If you set it up right on the outside lane, you can get that run. That was about ugly.
No wonder why there's only 14 people that started.
Uh-oh. That was Campbell.
This track is $14.99. So third caution of the evening out this time around, and like you said, Campbell.
That apron is
Oh, the car. He was just following the cars in front of him and kind of, I don't want to say lost train of thought, but just kind of dipped the chassis down a bit too much for its liking. Upsets the car, and he goes for a wicked ride. It's another one of those places, Brian, that what goes up eventually comes down, but it's such a steep place that You were kind of down for a moment, but now you just feel like you're in what was those, like a tilt-a-world. You just feel like you're in a tilt-a-world ride for just a little bit. Coca-Cola Speedway, maybe that might help. Okay, that didn't help. Hey, it did help. Hey, I found it. Concord, MA, like that's Massachusetts, right? Hey, I was off the degrees of banking by just 2 whenever I initially first said 38. 36 degrees of banking. iRacing Superspeedway is laid out like a conventional oval as opposed to the tri-oval configurations of Daytona and Talladega. Each straightaway is a mile in length, oh boy, and is banked at 10 degrees. That's why, like we talked about before the cars even pulled away from the grid, like I said, the only thing flat is pit road and the apron here. So 10 degrees of banking, Brian, on the straights. That's basically, if I'm not mistaken, that's the amount of degrees of banking that Dover has on their straightaways. It's either 8 or 10 on the straights of Dover. 36 degrees of banking in the corners.
Now, hopefully Jaden can stay on the lead lap. I don't think Campbell got so much damage. He really had a little tap in the rear. That's about it. Well, next week, these guys are at Auto Club.
Yeah, that 2-mile track racing facility, Auto Club.
Track that everybody likes. So I think when they come back to green, they will have 25 laps to go.
That's what it's looking like.
I think Campbell's fine. He really didn't get T-boned or nothing like earlier on in the first wreck. So Tyler Myers is going to lead him back to green with Pete Woodrum on his outside, Brian Schwartz in third, Aaron Bradford fourth, Philip Bridgman fifth, JP sixth, Christopher Campbell seventh, Hudson eighth, Cornette ninth, Jaden Sanchez 10th, and then Joe Stipe, puts 1 lap down, and Randy is 19 down. So,
While Joe is slowly being able to get back on the lead lap, they have one more caution, and Joe is the only car 1 lap down. Man, he'll get it back, no problem.
as the pace car pulls off, and green, green, green. You see there, Pete Woodrum gets a good start. gets in front of Tyler Myers. That's going to get Brian Schwartz to the back of the 2, with Philip Richmond going to 3rd. Tyler 4th, Bradford 5th, JP 6th. Yep, 25 laps to go this time by.
There they go, getting that outside lane working again. Myers, Bradford, and JP. So you can hold a pretty enough steady wheel. You can get any line truly down and working for you, but like you just said, Brian, halfway down and halfway to go in this race. So we should be expecting a pit stop, one more pit stop for everybody to take.
Yep. Hopefully they can get there.
Sports all over the back of Pete Woodrum, trying, maybe looking for a way by or settling for the moment in P2. Yes, he gives a good bump to the back of Pete. That outside lane now has 4 cars. Christopher Campbell now bringing up the rear of that outside lane.
Problem is, can they stay linked up enough to run them back down? That's the thing, you got to be smooth with that wheel. And, easy.
Yeah, Brian almost got into the back of Pete a little bit too off-centered.
Not me.
We've seen... No, not you. We've seen before in the past how if you hit somebody off-centered, it's really going to take them for a gnarly ride, so...
Yes, for a wicked ride. Good to see Brian out here tonight, doing pretty good. And then you got Phillip, and then you got Hudson.
I keep on wanting to call Hudson Josh.
Wonder if the forklifts engaged here at the end.
You never know, it could be, if you get enough charge, if it's an electric one, or some of those gas-powered operating... I prefer a gas-powered forklift. I don't know about you, Brian. You really get the most...
Is if it's gas power and that person's heavy, it's going to start sputtering. See, like that?
Yeah, that's true, too.
Caught in the sucker hole. Now going to fade back. Not much, but now the outside lane has that momentum wheel, just as we say. Tyler, Bradford, JP, Chris. Then the bottom it is Woodrum, Schwartz, Bridgman, Hudson.
Yeah, they keep getting separated on the bottom, and that's just kind of dragging them down ever so slightly. You get Schwartz to push out Woodrum a little bit further away from Bridgman. Bridgman can't quite stay tucked up to Schwartz to keep that momentum wrapped up on the bottom lane, so that outside lane just whips right around them. Now Woodrum decides to go up and get behind Campbell.
Trying to.
He just wanted some side draft.
Yep, and the way these turns are, you gotta arc it right. You can't do it any late, and then it'll be bad. That's for sure. You see there, Tyler's.
Yeah, that's what it truly looks like. Arc it into the corner sooner. Like you said, later it'll be way too late. And like we say, Myers finally getting down to the bottom after leading that outside group there for a good minute on that outside lane. Now decided to lead the bottom lane. At the stripe, it'll be 20 laps to go once they get there, but who will lead this lap? Bradford coming with a strong run on the outside, being pushed by JP. Bradford's going to lead this lap.
Oh, and there's that wall effect.
Oh, I don't know if that was wall effect as much as just steering into it, but I get what you mean. Sometimes you get close enough to that wall, the air will just kind of suck you into it. Doesn't matter what track you're at.
You saw there the 20 almost lost a rear with the 13 being ever so slightly close. There it goes again.
Oh, something happened.
Poor Bradford in that apron. I mean, Campbell in that apron. That's exactly what happened. I don't know why it came out though, because they saved it, but
Didn't look like to me he saved nothing. What are you talking about? That was a crash. We are watching the same race, right, Brian?
yeah.
Okay. Now getting into, that is turn 3 and 4, I do believe. Just aero disturbance in the force for Campbell's machine. Maybe he could have just hit a bump wrong, but looks just like the car just gets upset entering the corner, and oh, he got down and hit the apron again, Brian.
Yeah. Yeah,
you say he saved it, but no, he got tagged by Swartz. So
he'll be all right again. He ain't got heavy damage.
yeah, we suspect that was just light contact. Everybody should be all right in this incident that got any type of contact at all.
Yep. Well, I think Bradford stayed out. No, he didn't.
Almost want to talk to Campbell, but he's been in the wars this evening. May not want to be in the mood to talk to anybody. Everybody should be good to go now on the fuel, that digital Sunoco racing fuel this evening, and everybody should be good to make it home. So Jaden, this helps out Jaden tremendously after his first lap tango, getting into turn 1. So he's been trying to repair that car ever since. He might have it fully repaired, don't know yet. Still don't think so. It still looks a little banged up, worse for wear, but when you get hit and tagged a couple of times while spinning, that's going to happen to you. But yes, like he said, at least his closest competitor in the points, like he talked about, wasn't able to show up, so maybe he can extend that points gap a little bit further, like he talked about.
I think Campbell might have fixed all of his damage. Like I said, he's been lucky with just the rear.
Yeah, even the first lap incident, I'm pretty sure he backed it into another driver, barely tagged. And he's been doing pretty well tonight. I'd have to say about trying not to hit too hard. He was able to lock it down pretty good.
Hey, Joe's really the couple of
yeah. So Bradford, Hudson, Pearson, that's the top three as they run at the moment. Swartz, Bridgman, Woodrum, Cornett, Myers, and Sanchez, but Campbell might pass up Sanchez here, and he does. So Sanchez and Stipe, they are still trying to repair as much damage as possible to their wounded cars. Gonna get the restart here with 16 laps to get off of me, you, whatever you are. So, 16 laps to go in this race. Brian, do you think we'll have our fifth caution, or do you think this is all she wrote so far?
I'm going to say we're going to get a fifth.
All right. Justin, if you're out there watching, how many more do you predict? Like I said, I think he might have had to amend to something or take care of something. That's probably why he chose not to race tonight, or else he'd probably be out here. Don't know. I'm kind of worried for poor Justin. Don't know. So that pace car going to tragically pull off the speedway. And you have JP giving tremendous pushes to Bradford and Phillip, giving a good push to Pearson to get that inside lane going, and they do. As Hudson just either wasn't ready or just wasn't quite aware. One of the two probably just wasn't ready. I know that's happened to me a couple of times, so restarts remorse. Some people will always have. Similar to buying remorse or living in the past, Brian, right? So.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I thought Cornett was going to come all the way down to block Bradford, but he chose not to. So. Long day, Brian. My mother had laser eye surgery today on one of her eyes. Goes back in a couple of weeks to get it done on the other eye.
I'm sorry.
I know. Oh! Bradford, who was running a clean race this entire time, gets swept away with 15 laps to go. There's going to be a couple of cars here. Bradford got a good run, and he gave a push to Myers, who ended up giving a push. Who was that? To Woodrum? Just a chain of reaction of events. Normally you see a stack up or maybe somebody having to bicycle it that normally starts something like this. But this time it's a push that goes all wrong here. So yes, indeed, Bradford's going to get a real good run into the corner here, and just decides to. He was lined up pretty well with Myers, but Myers might have been bicycling, so to speak, because of Cornett. Cornett comes down to get in front of Myers, and after that, oh man. I think Bradford was just trying to give a push to Myers, just trying to help out, and oh man, is all I can really say about that. Oh, Swartz gets into it as well. So this is going to be about a 5-car wreck here, Brian.
Yeah.
And
vicious one.
Vicious one indeed. This is going to take out a few good men in this one. You can't handle that truth.
Oh, yeah. Well, Campbell got through that one.
Yeah, he's still lucky. He still got that 4-leaf clover. So does Pearson. Pearson was, I want to say, in the lead when all that melee occurred.
Oh, Phillip stayed out. The only car to stay out. Yeah, give me one quick second.
Well, I do believe that everybody, when we had the caution before, was definitely good to make it. You know, if that would have been like a highway or an interstate, what Philip did in the real world on the interstate, that's illegal, but um, motorists do it every day. So, but yeah, is this going to be a detriment to Philip? Is this going to help him maybe stay in the lead? Only time will do tell. Fifth caution of the evening. We'll probably get the restart at with 11 to go. It looks like possibly. So, only question is, can Philip control the race from here on out? Is the next question. Like we've seen before in races in the past, whether it be at Daytona, Talladega, Atlanta now, to where you are the race leader, you have to control the race. You have to change lanes back and forth. You have to be aggressive. You have to block. Blocking is such a key opponent in the racing nowadays. Even to have a good bump coming at you to take the hit, take the momentum. But this track is so wide that if you do decide to block, you could just get thrown in the middle or thrown to either side. And everybody was kung fu fighting. So, 6 cars currently on the lead lap that I know of. That's Philip Bridgman, Jaden Sanchez, Hudson in the 28th in 3rd position, Christopher Campbell in 4th, Jason Pearson 5th, Joe Stipe. It looks like Brian Schwartz might be on the lead lap, I think. Just barely. Chris Cornett and Tyler Myers is 1 lap down respectfully after being involved in that vicious crash that we just had with 15 laps to go. And I was right, going to have an 11-lap shootout to the end. Or we could get some green-white checkers. We could see some more yellow towel being displayed. Oopsie daisy. So, getting ready to end the 5th caution of asking. Doesn't look like that outside lane's going to have too many cars in it whenever it comes to the restart. "11 laps to go to settle it this evening in the B&R Bearded Bear Fixed Cup Series here this evening. These wrecks, even from the start of the race to this point now, have really spread the field thin. Our pole sitter still leading this race, though, Philip Bridgman. Still in contention. Him and Hudson are going to... Oh, we have another caution out on track at the moment.
Alright, sorry about that. Go back and... Oh, that one ain't in, is it? No, this one. Oh. That was on the 5. Well, the 8. And as we get ready to come back green here, and the green flag is out, Philip Bridgman will lead the field back to green with 7 laps to go. Oh, this is interesting. Joe Stites back on the lead lap. Campbell looking to go to the outside, the 3 Fords, the 28, 22, 68. Bottom is the 48, the 13, and the 4. Six laps to go here tonight. 3 packs of 2.
Alright, Brian, I get back in time.
You're good.
Nice.
Oh, you see there? JP pulled out of line, hoping someone would go with him.
Someone would go with him when Joe and Jaden kind of went and committed to the bottom real quick. This is what I was talking about, right as you stepped away. Oh, that is huge. That is, oh my goodness, huge crash coming to lap number 46.
Wow.
Coming to lap 46, a huge crash taking out the pole sitter and one of the other top contending drivers of this race, Jason Pearson. Joe was trying to get a run to the back of Philip's bumper and just off-centered hit. And I don't know what else you want to call that.
That is horrible of me to do that. That is absolutely horrible. My apologies. I just get excited when you see wrecks like that. Hey, you see that Philip was moving up and Joe stood right there just to... Alright.
Well, Joe...
See you later.
Joe had I don't want to say a sloppy turn for exit, but just kind of slid down the track ever so slightly. And come back here, Discord. Where'd you... Oh, yeah, he did some pirouetting for sure, Brian. And thankfully, you know, the iRacing Super Speedway catch fence did its job. And don't have to worry about any of the 150,000 spectators here getting a car landed on top of them. So, as we see another look at this replay here, you're going to see Philip just ricochet back into, bounces out of the sand barrels, water barrels, whatever you would prefer to like to call them. They're either filled with sand or water. And Jason is looking. He sees Philip in the catch fence. He's like, oh my. And then he comes back and lands on his car. That is not how race cars are born. So this opens the race back up for Hudson, Campbell. Really anybody that had lost that little front foursome. And this will be green-white checkered attempt number 1, no doubt about it.
Yep. That was gnarly. I hate to say it, but that was
Yeah, that 48 definitely going to need a tow, a lift, some type of assistance back to the garage area. I don't think Philip is even going to be able to get this car back out before this race is over. He might be able to, but I don't know. Even the amount of repair work that JP has to do to his car, I don't know. It's looking to be just like as JP predicted. You know, only 2 cars will finish this race, if that, at this point. They could all wreck going down the back straightaway, and who wins at that point, Brian?
I don't know. That's just what we're gonna have to.
Well, we had 7 cautions so far, the same amount that we had for the truck race just 2 days ago. Do we leave now with 7, or do we have an 8th caution? I imagine if we had more people to start this race, this would have even been a more hectic race than what it was. I would say pretty hectic race. Had to watch out for drivers getting a bit too low, clipping the apron, shooting back up, or just losing control of the automobile. Well, we've done a broadcast without a crank it up or without talking to any of the drivers for once. Would you look at it?
Yes. Anyway, well, that was a vicious wreck. Like that was rough. Like that was a very hard lick to the 48. Like I said, no intentions of laughing. It's just the nature of the beast.
Oh, well, whenever it looks pretty realistic or just laughable, sometimes you just gotta let the emotions take the better of you and just do whatever you gotta do, whether it be cry, laugh,
Well, I don't
have
like
a Tourette's moment.
select a few people, get upset about, laughing on a instance like that. So, but
Oh, I've heard commentators laugh for, you know, all sorts of different things before in the booth, in the real world, so like I said, sometimes you just gotta let the emotions get the better of you and just do whatever just, yes,
so
let
the
it all
top
out,
four
shake it.
are Fords.
Yes, indeed. So there's a 40% chance that a Ford could win this race. I don't know how well Brian Swartz's car is going to be, nor Chris Cornett. Might as well throw Randy out of the equation, even though he would be able to help if it need be. He looks like he has a full repaired car. He is 18 laps down, though. Like I said, Pete Woodrum's 9 laps down, but he's still out here too, trying to get all the points that they can fester or manage to get in the time left allowed. So first green white checkered attempt number 1 as they barrel down into the turn on this restart. I don't know if Joe has any front end damage from clipping Phillip or not. It's a bit hard to tell with that paint scheme he has on this evening. But nevertheless, like you say, the front 4 are Fords. The front 4 positions, and the slicing and dicing is about to ensue as they're halfway down the back straightaway for what we believe to be the penultimate time of asking. Penultimate, if anybody cares, is the Italian word for second to last. If anyone has heard me say that before in the past. Here they come to the white flag. White flag is waving. Barney the flag man has it in his hands. It is waving here this evening. Finally, this race will be, hopefully over in just a short amount of time. In less than a minute, they barrel through turns 1 and 2 for the final time of asking. Hudson's going to get a run. He's going to the outside. Looking. He's kind of there. Now, Jaden is going to get a push from Randy. Here comes Christopher Campbell around the outside. They're all going to freight train Joe by. Now, how wide does Hudson get? Hudson might get a little bit wide here going down the back straightaway for the final time of asking. Here they go. Campbell, he's all by himself now on that outside lane. What is Jaden Sanchez going to do here? Hudson all alone by himself. They're side by side behind him. They can't even seem to catch him. Oh, they're getting wild. Coming to the stripe, though, it's Hudson in the 28. It's a photo finish for second. Who gets it?
Campbell.
Campbell gets second. So, I believe Joe gets third, so Swartz with a top 4. As we saw the get-together between Sanchez and Randy, they slid into the pits. So Jaden will finish in the 5th position, I do believe. Chris Cornett, 6th.
By the 68.
Oh, yes. Which upsets Jaden's car tremendously. Jaden's going to kind of get disturbed by just all the aerodynamics and everything. Then coming off the corner, I do believe they might touch. If not, if they don't touch, he gets even more loose. Randy's going to come up. Like I said, he's 18 laps down. Randy, what are you doing? Oh my goodness, Randy. He had it somewhat saved until he met the Shell Pennzoil 22 car. And then the battle for the podium positions here coming to the stripe as Hudson had a real good distance ahead of him, had a couple of car length gap. So he had a good enough good breathing room as Swartz gave the bumper to Campbell. Campbell gets really fishy, and then coming to the stripe for the second place, it was a photo finish between Campbell and Joe Stipe as nobody was able to do anything to the 28 machine. Outstanding race, for how many people showed up. Yeah, we had some hiccups here and there. Unfortunately, never got to see a green flag pit stop, but that's just how it rolls sometimes on the iRacing.
That it does.
Like you said, next week we go to, yes, indeed. Help me out, Brian. You just said it.
Auto Club.
Yes, Auto Club. So plenty of room there. It's a lot flatter than iRacing Super Speedway. So race results: James Hudson brings it home in P1 in that 28 Texaco Haviland car. Christopher Campbell with that photo finish with Joe Stipe. That is second and third. Brian Swartz in fourth position. Jaden Sanchez rounds out the top five. Chris Cornett in sixth position. Jason Pearson seventh. Philip Bridgman eighth. Pete Woodrum ninth. Tyler Myers 10th, Aaron Bradford 11th, Randy Busquet in 12th, Clint Hayfield in 13th, Matthew Hunsaker 14th, Justin okay, well those two didn't start, so anyway. So, now we can wrangle up and gather our podium finishers here.
Nah, I just downshifted. Yep. How's it going, fellas?
Well, it's going pretty good for us, Joe. It's going pretty good for you too. Bringing it home P3, kind of a photo finish there with Campbell coming to the stripe on the final lap. From the start of the race, you got collected in that first lap, rock'em sock'em going into turn one, and you were on the back foot ever since then. And you were like 3 or 4 laps down at one point, but thankfully enough, for you, we had enough cautions to get you back on the lead lap. And man, you just never were out of it. It seemed like you fought the entire race to get your laps back. You did, and we thought, man, you might have it in the bag, but they kind of ganged up on you there and blew by you. But you kind of kept them within eyesight. Joe, tell us how you did it.
Well, I mean, it was a struggle all night from that first lap. And the pace car goes around here so fast that even when you take a wave around, you can't catch a pack before the green flag drops. So I just was never in the draft up until I got the lucky dog, and I was finally racing with the pack, and I could see what everybody was. I mean, nobody was really aggressive. The bumps going into these turns, sometimes it'll trick you because you think you're turning a whole lot less than what you are, but when you hit that bump and it kind of grabs you a little bit and sends you down to the bottom, if you got too much wheel into it, you're in a world of hurt. And that's what happened lap one. I saw that Campbell spun out earlier in the race. That's probably the same thing that happened to him. And then when we got there towards the end, I was wanting to have a real good race with Phillip, and for some reason at Super Speedway, some of these guys, when they come off the corner, they'll drift up to the next lane and then they'll come back down or something like that. And I just always hug the line, and
Right.
he was up on that lane, and I tried to burp it a little bit to let him back in because I knew he was going to come back down, and it just between having a little bit of aero push from the back I just couldn't get behind him, and he ended up going across the nose. And I hate that for Philip because he was running a damn good race all night, and it collected Jason, and that's not something I was hoping for at all. And then on the restart, Jaden came down in front of me, and I tried to make a move on him, and it worked. And I brought some guys with me, and then next thing I know, everybody just left me. And so it was a scramble just to find a draft to catch back up to him. And then I don't know what happened to Jaden coming out of 4, but he lost a lot of momentum. And I used that to shoot around him. And then I used Campbell's draft, and I just kept swapping drafts until I got up to speed enough to try to make a move on Campbell. And I was hoping that I had enough to make a move on James, but it wasn't enough, and apparently wasn't even enough to get back Campbell either. But it was close.
It was close. Like I said, pretty much a photo finish 4th second after the trials and tribulations that Campbell went through to get there. Next week, Auto Club, like you talked about, you never want to make contact with fellow competitors to send them out of the race. Rubbing is racing, but just like you talked about, some drivers, they will either float up a half a lane or either go a full lane up out of the corners. Some, like yourself, me, others, they really want to try to hug that double yellow or that bottom painted line as much as possible, but just judgment calls or close calls turn into near misses or complete just incidences, right? So next week, Auto Club, that 2-mile track that Roger Penske built, what's the hopes and dreams and admirations, going into Auto Club? That's a very bumpy track. Over a period of time became very bumpy. Now we don't even go to it anymore, but with iRacing, luckily we still can, right? So Auto Club.
Yeah, the mile and a halves are not my strong suit, but I've been steadily getting better at them. It's just a matter of how aggressive I want to be on them. But the last probably week and a half, 2 weeks, I've been getting caught up in a lot of incidents not of my doing, and so next week I'm hoping for a clean race. That's what. If I have a clean race, I can be in the top 10, maybe top 5, and so far that has not been the case. So I've got to keep the nose clean, stay out of trouble, and race my race.
Yes, indeed. Kind of just let the race come to you, like it hopefully can each and every race, week and race. Final thoughts, shout-outs, anything you'd like to say, Joe, before we let you go celebrate this podium finish here tonight?
Shout out to you guys for another great broadcast. Shout out to James and Chris on their finishes. Shout out to Philip and Jason. I'm sorry that I ruined your race. It was not intentional, and hopefully they don't run me over for it. But tonight was. I don't want to say it was a sloppy race, but having not a lot of track time here, I was kind of expecting it would go a little smoother. But all in all, when it was racing, it looked like it was good racing. So I hope everybody enjoyed the show.
Robin is
well.
racing.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I just wish that there was a few more competitors, but it being a $15 track, iRacing trying to get all they can for their buck, I guess. So we'll move on next week to Auto Club, and I believe it'll be a bit. I don't want to say better race, because anything can happen at Auto Club. Anything can happen anywhere, as we know and see each and every week. So Best of luck to you next week, Joe. Thanks for talking to us, and congratulations on the podium finish after a long fought, hard struggle race to be in contention for the final lap there.
All right, thank you. Y'all have a good night.
You too.
You too, Joe.
Next up. Been a while. About time.
Right?
Oof.
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah, it makes you want to go and just strangle the person that put it on the schedule, huh? So, the way Joe was describing it, in my head, I was kind of getting a feel of like Dover, but on like just vicious steroids, like Vince McMahon type of looking steroids. Like what? I like the way he was saying how like the entry to the corners can just deceive you, or like I feel like Dover in a way can be the same place, because if like we saw you tonight there, Christopher, hit the apron a couple of times and it just totally upsets the car right after it bottoms out, and it's like, oh, what did you do to me? And just tell us that experience. Like there was one point where you almost drove out of it, but with these Gen 7 cars, it's really hard to catch a losing car, right? So tell us about your woes and your ups and downs tonight, Christopher.
Yeah, I mean, you feel like you got such good speed here when you get in the draft, but at the same time, when you see that corner coming, and it's just like Dover, that corner looks so steep and so sharp, and then if you're not looking straight down in front of you, and if you're looking ahead of you at all, and you turn that corner just a little too hard, then you'll get down off the apron like I did, so you'll overdrive that car, and then as soon as you think you got it, even if you don't overdrive it, and as soon as you think you got it, then you got the rest of the corner to finish, and I mean, you got to really turn into that. And no matter how many laps you run on it, it's like you never get a real smooth entry into that corner, because you're trying to draft the whole time, so you're trying to stay with your drafting partner, and then you're trying to make your corner at the same time.
Exactly. And that's kind of like the feel I was getting. I was, even while watching the race, I was kind of just like the roller coaster of a hump. You go in and out of the corners. It's like, well, this is basically Dover, but just a lot bigger, wider, meaner to a certain degree. And we saw tonight how wide the track is, but even in the corners, it seemed like it narrowed up. While being in the pack, that I know we didn't have like 25 or 30 competitors out here, but it was still a decent enough pack to get an understanding of how this track drives, right? So, like you were saying, it looked to be a big handful just in the pack that you were in, and like how
when you're working with, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, when you're working with, a group like that, and you don't know exactly, what your person in front of you's intentions are, you don't know if they're going to work, you don't know if they're going to work with you, you don't know if, and on the last couple of laps, I mean, that was evident. I really thought Jaden and I would work together, but obviously we didn't. There's no bad blood there. It's just, I talked to him after the race. I thought if him and I would have worked together, I think the outcome would have been a lot different.
No, for sure. Just like what you're talking about, I don't want to say there's so much hesitation, but there's so much little trust in nowadays whenever it comes to super speedway racing, plate racing. When you think you can trust somebody or trust somebody in front or behind you to work with you, but then they just go down the escalator, so to speak, or go in the elevator on you, and they just ditch you. They leave you, or we saw earlier in the race where people were just getting split in the middle, right? So the trust factor is very hard to have. I used to be that way. I used to just work with people who worked well, right? Who were able to just hold lines, and if they ditched me, well, I just remembered it for later, or I just always tried to work well with them up until that final lap, right? Then
Yep.
all bets are off. But next week, Atlanta. No,
Auto
Auto Club.
Club.
My apologies. Yes. I got the A's all in the brain, all scrambled. Auto Club, the place that Penske built. What's your mindset whenever you go into an Auto Club race, Mr. Campbell?
Tires, and tires. I try to find a line that I can kind of let everybody get around me, depending on where I qualify, and just hang out in the back. And then 15, 20 laps, you start seeing them, come back to you. And that's my whole mindset there, is saving tires, not trying to run out front, not trying to gain points, by leading a lap. I'm just trying to be there at the end and not get tied up in some mess.
Yes, Auto Club is a track that can definitely eat the tires, so tire management, especially being on a fixed setup. We saw earlier in the season on the open side of things with the setups that Auto Club, with the setup at least, the pack racing, the intense, tight racing was able to stay together. And I've seen a lot of fixed racing at Auto Club, thanks in part to iRacing, where it only takes a few laps, or about 8 or 10 laps, and then everybody gets spread out on the fixed side of things at Auto Club. Do you think that's pretty much what we're in store for next week, is after a few laps, everybody's just going to get spread apart?
Yeah, I think so. And, if we can keep it clean and people get spread out, then we'll see some good green flag runs, and we'll start seeing some strategies come into play, which is what I like to do. I like that strategy racing. I feel like that plays better into my hand than the short, go fast and burn your tires up racing.
Yes, sir, indeed. Strategy, pit stops, always the great equalizer when it comes to motorsport. Any final thoughts, shout-outs, anything else you'd like to add, Christopher, before we let you go celebrate this P2?
I just want to thank BNR Racing and the network for putting it on, and Bearded Bear Custom Hides. Everybody go check them out on Etsy and our TikTok channel, Bearded Bear Hides 79. We appreciate y'all putting this on tonight.
Well, we appreciate you talking to us, and I don't want to say better luck, because that's one position better, but yes, better luck next week. Indeed, hopefully you can get one position better at Auto Club, even though, like we talked about, tire management, tire saving will come into play a lot next week.
Absolutely. It's coming. We'll get that win soon.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It's right around the corner. I just know it.
All right, guys. We'll see y'all later.
Bye, buddy. Next up, your race winner. James.
What's up?
How's it going, sir?
Oh, not too bad.
Well, James, pretty chaotic start to start this race off with the melee that happened in turn 1, but after that you guys got a little bit of running in, then another caution, and then got some more green flag, just cautions periodically, got a little bit of green flag running in. Never got a green flag pit stop, but that's almost to be expected with pack racing or super speedway racing. But this type of racing at this type of track, just brings a whole nother can of worms. Just about like like what we've been saying leading up to your interview. It's just a bigger Dover, like a Dover on just jacked up steroids, right? Like wider, bigger, like corners are just never ending, right? So if you don't mind, just tell us how you drove away with the victory here this evening. You've been fast for weeks leading up to this race, and then bam, finally got the dub.
Oh man, just got lucky. Came into the race just wanting to keep the nose clean. Kind of just ride out, try to stay out of trouble. Made it happen. Just got lucky pretty much.
Well, for the most part, yeah, luck had a lot to do to do involved with this win. For the most part, I would say luck is about 50 to 40% of most of your pack racing or plate tracks, right? But it still takes, trying to avoid, all the skirmishes or just putting yourself in the right position at the end. And you did that pretty well on that green white checkered attempt that we had. We had 3 of them, but we only had to use 1. So just tell us about that final restart.
Yeah, I just knew if I could stay close to the leader that I had a shot, and was able to get a good push there from the 22 and got up beside him. When I got around him on the backstretch, I didn't know really which way they were going to go and if I'd be able to hold it. Once I broke out there and had the 4 car pushing me there for a little bit and looked back down and seen the 22 had a pretty decent run on my inside. So I figured if I could get down in front of him going into 3 and at least get a shot, maybe I could run away with it, and it worked out.
Yes, it worked out indeed. You had at least a 4 to 5 car length lead coming off of turn number 4, and it was your greener pasture to go to the barn, so to speak, and you for sure led it to the barn. What did you think about about the racing tonight? I know we didn't have like a big 5 or 30 car field tonight, but the racing that we did have, it looked pretty fun while you guys were out there competing, going side by side, exchanging different crossover moves and what have you.
Oh yeah, it was a blast. You just really had to hang on to it. It was slick out there, especially taking bumps. If you got bumped just in the wrong spot or whatnot, you could lose the rear end really easily.
Yeah, we saw that a few times this evening, just drivers either coming off the corner, just sliding, or, for instance, I think there was a couple of times going into the corner, they were getting caught out, but like you said, it looked a bit slick. Next week is Auto Club. If you're here next week for Auto Club, what's the thought process going into that track?
I pretty much just find a good line that works and that's not going to eat up my tires. I feel tires are going to be a real big thing there. So whoever can keep their tires on them probably will run away with it.
Yes, indeed. Tire management, like we've already talked about so far this evening, is going to be a key factor next week at Auto Club. Any final thoughts, shout-outs, anything else you'd like to say or add, before we let you go celebrate this win here tonight?
I'd just like to thank JP for telling me about the league and letting me join, and the family for putting up with it twice a week.
Well, we would like to thank you for talking to us after this win tonight. Congratulations again on the win there, James, and best of luck to you next week at Auto Club.
Yep, thank you, bud.
Thank
No
you.
problem. Anyway, that will do it here. Overall, I would say a fantastic race. Nothing less, especially at a track like this. A lot of ups, a lot of downs for some, that's for sure.
Yeah, I feel like not every race, Brian, is going to be a barn burner, but you're going to have some that aren't going to be the most fantastic knockout, drag-out races in the world, and then others, you will have some good, just normally good races. Others, you will have those barn burners. Tonight was just pretty good overall race. Like I said before, we didn't get to see any green flag pit stops, but that's just how the cookie crumbles at times. Next week, Auto Club. That's sure to be one heck of a race. Auto Club normally is pretty good races. That track is always put on a good show. So me and Brian Huntley, we would like to thank each and every one of you for coming out, tuning in, and cheering on your favorite B&R Cup Series competitor this evening. here in the Bearded Bear Customs Fixed Cup Series. So until next week, when me and Brian are back at it again in the Truck Series for Tuesdays, we would just like